I'm Ray Richmond for Gold Derby here with Santiago Mitre, the writer, producer, director of Argentina 1985, a Golden Globe winner that's nominated for Best International Feature at this year's Academy Awards. Santiago, can you discuss what it means to receive an Oscar nomination for the movie and how it might impact filmmaking in Argentina?
Well, it's a good question because, of course, to get nominated is like a sort of dream, that we people who like cinema, we carry from since our childhood. I think the more important thing and what we need to value is how these awards, so important and so iconic, mean to spread the voice on a film. Even more in a film that it's talking about so relevant topics from nowadays, about justice, democracy, and about accountability, and how to and the commitment of the younger generations in the transformation of the world. So I'm super proud of the nomination. I'm super proud of everything that the film is generating, has generated in this amazing journey that we are having. But I think what I'm more happy about is about having the possibility of reaching the more audiences all over the world. And what you said about we in Argentina we have a very great cinematic tradition, and we produce a lot of films. Mm-hmm. But of course, these sort of things that happened from time to time, they give us courage to keep on producing and to keep on believing that stories from our country will be interesting for people from all over the world also.
Let's talk for a moment about the story you tell in Argentina 1985, about that team of lawyers that courageously prosecute the head of your country's bloody military junta during the 1980s. Yeah. Based on a true story. What inspired you to want to tell it, and why now, so many years later?
The event is a magnificent event, and it has so many values that made it interesting. I always wanted to make a film about this subject. I think me as an Argentinian, and probably every Argentinian who still remember this trial was. It's impossible not to have admiration for what they did, because the trial was made only 1 year after the dictatorship happened, with all the countries around still governed by dictatorships, with the military still super powerful and threatening, because all the people who run the repressive system was still free. So to make the decision of doing this trial, and then to make it happen, as the prosecutors and lawyers and witnesses did, it took a lot of bravery. So I thought that the values of the event were enough to bring it to cinema these days. But then we started, during the process of doing a film that of course is so long, we understood that talking about this particular trial that happened in the 85 was not only talking about this trial, was also talking about the world today, where we see so many speeches growing and everywhere that don't seem to respect so much democracy, and many people that taking democracy for granted. So it was a film. I think I realized that it was also a film about democracy and about how justice can make a better world and a better democracy.
Yeah, that's one of the things I noted. Talking about democracy and how well it's continued to take root. It's always so precarious, as we've seen here in the United States. Yeah. Over the last few years. I know there was an assassination attempt on Argentine Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner last September. The hold on democracy, again, so precarious. Has democracy continued to thrive since the mid-'80s, since the trial?
I mean, yeah, what you said is what everybody says, because when we started this film, I mean, Ukraine was invited, and the war started. The January 6th happened in the U.S. not long ago, like 2 months ago, there were people trying to took the government palace in Brazil. It was an attempt of murder from to the vice president of Argentina. So we realize that we never have to take democracy for granted, and and democracy is something that we as citizens, we need to defend and to take into consideration and to understand the importance on our everyday actions. So yeah, we are living, I think, a moment of the world which is frightening, but I'm also optimistic that we are going to go back on track, and what we need is to get to the younger generations to understand that changes are possible, and that they can go back to believe in politics and in democracies and to participate in the transformation. I think one of the best things that this story, not only the film, made me realize is that the biggest transformations, they come when the system incorporates the young minds and the young power to make transformations.
Speaking of the young people, from what I understand, Santiago, the story has largely been forgotten of this trial, even inside Argentina. What significance do you think it's left, and why are people's memories so short?
I mean, one of the things that we needed to do with Mariano Ginás, my co-writer, before we started to write, is to understand how much people remembered about this trial, and people from all ages, because it was 40 years since the trial happened. So we started to ask questions, like in a sort of small documentary or something like that, and realized that many people were forgotten the event, and of course the people who were born in democracy. Were less than 35 years old, they need not know too much about the event. So yeah, well, I don't know. Time happens, and democracy is not perfect. So the people who are born in democracy, they start to complain about democracy, because we know that democracy is not perfect and the political system is not perfect, and we need to criticize it all the time, and to make critics to the political system is to try to make it better in a way. But at the same time, democracy is the best that we have, and that's something that I think the film is bringing back to memory in a way, because how awful it was, the dictatorship. It was something that for some people was starting to be forgotten. And when you listen to this woman who is telling the story about how she was tortured while she was pregnant, and she gave birth handcuffed in a police car, it's impossible not to cry and thank on how how we achieved this trial, and these people that luckily they died in jail.
That story was so wrenching about the woman giving birth in the police car, being handcuffed. That obviously brought people to Strazera's side and in the country, and what a wrenching way that you portrayed it. And that leads into my next question. If we can speak for a moment about what people endured during that dirty war, 1976 to 83, and the atrocities this dictatorship committed. Did you speak to actual torture victims and witnesses for the film?
Yes, I did. I actually spoke to the girl that was born in that police car.
Wow.
Many times, yeah. And so, yeah, the process of doing the research was so painful. Yeah, sometimes it was too much. I can imagine what the prosecutors at the moment may have feel, because to listen to all these stories and to watch the tapings of the trial, it was so painful for us. But then, yeah, I mean, we try to use like cinema to compensate some of the situations. We understood also that this the main prosecutor, Strazera, was a guy who a lot of sense of humor, and the people who were doing the research, they needed to invent a system where humor was part of the everyday life, because otherwise it will be like too hard for them probably. So we decided to use that also in the film. So during the film we have mainly in the beginning, the first 25 minutes or 30 minutes, like some funny situations on the building of the team, or in the reactions of the main prosecutor who had a very explosive personality that I thought when we were writing that it was going to be important, because we knew that at some point it was going to be impossible not to be crying. So when you get to relate to the characters through these very humanistic ways and humorous ways, you get to the darker part of the film, where with your heart more open and you can receive it and feel the empathy and the pain with more I don't know, reception in a way.
You seem to find the perfect guy for that role, with humor and the seriousness he put forward, and just the dedication. Ricardo Darín playing Julio Estracera did such a phenomenal job. What was it difficult to find him? I think you'd worked with him before.
Yeah.
Was it tough to get him to commit to the role?
No, not at all. He was we did a film together, the one just before this one, that is called The Summit, and we get along very good. We understand each other very good. We became friends, so we talk about cinema all the time. So when I started to develop this film, I told him I was writing on this subject, and I didn't even finish to ask him, and he already told me, I'm doing Estracera. Like he was going to support me on this project, and then he read the script and he liked the script, and he also wanted to get involved as a producer. So we've been working during the whole process, since the beginning of the idea till the last moment of the post-production together. He's beside being a great actor, very sensitive, very intelligent, and with a lot of conscious of all the details that cinema needs. He's a great guy. He's my friend, and I want to keep on doing films with him.
You really put us in the having the feeling of being there back in the mid-'80s, with everybody smoking and the payphones and just, creating that whole vibe. Was that difficult to recreate Argentina from 1985? Or relatively
actually, it was a lot more difficult than what we thought, because when you think in the 80s, well, I was born in the 80s, you think the 80s are right there, but of course the city has changed a lot, and there's many people who have strong memories about the 80s who are still very much around. So we were fighting to that, also to the memory that the people have from the period. So but me growing in the 80s, and the DOP and the production designer, we use a lot of our memories, our personal archives, and on all the stuff that we got to try to build the atmosphere and the textures and the colors from the 80s. I think our personal archives were super important for the how to reconstruct the ambience of the house, the clothing, and everything, because the 80s in Argentina were not the same, like not the same 80s and in many places of the world. So but also we wanted to not over portray the 80s, because we wanted to as I said in the beginning, wanted to make a film about this event, Argentina in 1985, to vibrate in today's world, like if it was something that you were crossing all together, like traveling in time in a way. So we didn't want nothing to be distractive to tell this story. So we find some iconic images, like the ones you said, the payphones, the smoking all the time, the cassettes player, the Walkmans, like the curly hairs all over the place, and we trusted in that, and we thought it was enough to portray the 80s with in an accurate way, than not over portrayed it.
Yeah, everyone was smoking. Do they still have that many smokers in Argentina, or has that fallen by the way? Every time you turn around, somebody's lighting up in the film.
No, of course not. There's a lot more conscious about how dangerous it is to smoke. So not many people. Many people smoke, but most of the people are conscious on the dangers. And of course, they were not real cigarettes what they were smoking during the film.
Right, of course. I understand you were permitted to film in the same courthouse where the original trial took place.
Yes, that was.
How were you able to do that, to reenact that? That really lends authenticity.
Yeah, it was something that I asked from the beginning, because I knew that I wanted to use like some of the real footage from the trial, mixed with our reenactment of the trial of our shots. So I asked for that, and it took a long time to get the authorization. The place is not the courtroom is not used anymore as a courtroom. So, well, after a long process that the producers needed to do, we get the authorization, and I was very happy, because shooting in that place with the people, well, the dressed exactly as they were during the trial, saying the exact same words that they said during the trial, was so powerful. It was impossible not to cry, and we did like the last speech that the prosecutor does. We did like I don't know how many shots, like probably a lot more than Ricardo deserved, but on every take it was impossible not to fall in tears and not to clap loudly, and everyone from the team and from the extras that were in the room that days were what was clapping and in a very honest way.
And you also interwove archival footage and photos from the actual trial, along with the new footage. That was to lend authenticity, obviously, to the
yeah, and also I did a very long research process, and of course one of the more painful parts of doing this research was to watch all the tapings, and in the tapings you realize that they don't show faces in the trial. You only see the faces of the judges and the back of the witnesses, and you only listen to the voices. And when I started to work on the mise en scène of the film, on how to shoot those scenes, we realized with the DOP that we need to be on the faces of the witnesses to give back those faces and then try to understand the pain, the anger, and all the feelings that they must had before talking for the first time, or what they lived, or how they survived. But at the same time, those images were so iconic that I also wanted to use them. So we designed a system with Javier, my DOP, that we were during every scene that we were doing in the courtroom, and sometimes not even in the courtroom, we were producing images with an U-matic camera, which was the same video camera that was used to tape the trial. So we were building this fake archive. So then in the editing room, we had the opportunity to go from our shots to the shots that we were doing with the U-matic camera, which had the same texture than the archive shots. So we were going from one texture to another in a smooth way, and we were able to use the real archive of the trial.
Is there anyone still around from that trial, still alive today, that you were able to contact and speak to, or any of the people that were Stracera?
No, Stracera passed away 9 years ago. Actually, yesterday it was the 9th anniversary of his disease. But Luis Moreno Campo, yeah, he's very much still alive, and we are in close relation. We've been doing like a lot of after screen talks together, and he's a very interesting person. After this trial, he was the first prosecutor in the International Court of La Haye, and he did prosecutions in many important trials for human rights. And then I spoke a lot with the people that were part of his team in the 85, and with the judges, and some of the people who gave testimony. Yeah, I during my research, and with the family of Stracera also, it was very important for me to understand the human. Let's say, I don't know how to tell this, like the humanistic, how they perceived and how they felt, not only the facts, and to try to understand how it was for them to live during that process, because, well, these are human beings who just were in charge of an amazing task, and they did very well.
We're going to wrap this up in a minute here, Santiago, but I wanted to know before we close up what the reaction has been inside Argentina to the film.
We did it very well. The film was the #1 box office during of the year and during several weeks, and it grows like 1 million in only in 3 weeks, and then in on 1 million admissions, I mean, and then in Prime Video, it's massively watched, and it's a very important film for my country and for the region, because this dictatorship that we had in Argentina and this trial, well, it didn't happen everywhere, but many people from all over the world, they can relate to that, and I think well, the film is, I mean, it had some discussions during Argentina, of course, but those are the kind of discussions that I like that cinema can bring.
Fantastic. Thank you, Santiago, for spending time with us here today, speaking about Argentina 1985. Best of luck on Oscar night and in your filmmaking career going forward.
Thank you very much. Very kind of you.